Hello and welcome to Pickleball Therapy, the podcast dedicated to your pickleball improvement. My name is Tony Roig. I am your host of this weekly podcast. Last week, we had the pleasure of having CJ Johnson on as a guest podcast host. Hope you enjoyed her podcast about the growth mindset. CJ has some really good ideas about the learning process and about how we can grow, not just as athletes and pickleball players, but as human beings. So if you haven't been able to check that episode out, check that one out. This is a special episode. It's a special episode surrounding our upcoming workshop called the Win More series. I wanted to talk about the series, but also want to talk about the concept of winning, right? And how we can reconcile this desire to win with a healthy and productive mental mindset while we engage in this beautiful sport of pickleball. Before we begin the podcast, as I just mentioned, we have our workshop series coming up, the Win More series. We have two workshops that we put on every year. This is the first one in 2024. This is our spring workshop. This is going to be a really good workshop. You're going to want to join us for this workshop. Even if you've been to one of our workshops before, we're always growing, just like we encourage you to grow as pickleball players and as human beings. CJ and I, we don't rest on our laurels back here and just go, okay, we're done. We've climbed the mountain, right? There's always another mountain to climb, as you'll hear in a couple of weeks with our regular episode. But the idea is that there's always something to grow, always somewhere to go, and we're always working on our craft and trying to find better ways to transmit to you or transfer to you the knowledge about pickleball that CJ and I each have about this awesome sport. So if you want to join us for the workshop, it's starting on March 14th. But try and get your ticket soon. Try and reserve your seat soon. No reason to dilly-dally on that. I'll put a link down below in the show notes. If you're on our email list, you've already gotten an email from us, and you'll get more emails from us. So make sure you join us for this workshop series. Let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk about the title. I want to just hit that nail on the head, right? Because we did call it the Win More series, right? We're leaning into this idea of winning pickleball games. Now, why do we do that? Why do we use terminology like winning more? We use that terminology because a lot of pickleball players out there have not yet had an opportunity to work with CJ or me as their coaches, right? To listen to our perspective on pickleball and on the your growth as a pickleball player and your approach as a pickleball player that will give you more, it's more constructive, more productive way of approaching not just the mechanics of the game and how you play, but the mental part of the game. So, we've been at this for a while, so we know the kind of words that pickleball players, that resonate with pickleball players. There are words like winning, winning, third shot, strategy, winning strategy, things like that. Those kind of words are triggers out there. And so we use terminology like win more. Now, we do want to win more. Everybody wants to win more, and I'm going to talk about that more in detail in a minute. But, what I don't want you to do is to lose sight of the idea that even though winning is our objective when we play, because that's the game that we sign up to play. We play a game that has a score. We play a game where at the end of each game, there's going to be a team that won and a team that lost. We could participate in other types of activities like frisbee throwing, tossing a ball in the backyard, kicking a ball around, things like that. You could go out to the pickleball court and just, hit a ball back and forth. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you play pickleball the way that pickleball is normally played, there is score kept, and there is, in fact, a winner and a loser. So there's nothing wrong with winning. It's fine to want to win. But here's the thing about winning. Winning is incidental to what we do. Winning is a result. You cannot go out to the pickleball court to win a game. That's just not a thing that you can do. If you want to win more, what you can do is you can do the things that you do on the court, the shots you hit, the strategies you implement, the decisions you make those better. And the better that you do with those different aspects of the game, then the higher the chances that you're going to win the game. But this idea that I'm going to go out there and win the game is just not something that is doable. For example, next time you play, if you want to win more, maybe go out there and say to yourself, today I'm going to really be mindful of the net. I'm going to really keep the net out of play, or I'm going to be really mindful of hitting balls out of bounds. whatever your poison is, right, when you play, whatever is the cause of errors in your game, say to yourself, I'm really going to focus on that next time I play. That's something you have control over, right? Not the result, not the incidental win or loss. You do have control over the decisions that you make. We have an acronym that we're using, or starting to use. We're going to unveil it during the workshop, so you want to come to the workshop so you can check out the new acronym that we're unveiling. But one of the elements of that acronym is the concept of intentionality, which we've talked about before in this podcast. It's the idea that we are going to be intentional with what we do. We're not just going to hit balls and, wherever they go, they go. We're going to have some idea. Does that mean the ball's going to go there every time that we aim it there? No, of course not. I mean, you're a human, I'm a human. Our shots are going to vary. But we have an intention. We have an idea of what we want to do, and we're clear with that intentionality. That we have control over. The better you get at that intentionality, right, the better you work out that muscle, the better you get at clearing the net, at not letting your shots land out of bounds and things like that, then guess what? You'll win more games, right? That's just an extension of the game. And I'll tell you a quick personal story. See, Jill and I, we just got back from a Caribbean cruise. Some friends of ours are celebrating milestone birthdays, so we all decided to get on a cruise together. And they had 2 pickleball courts, actually pretty nice, all things considered. And so the last day on the cruise, they had a tournament. So, we didn't have any schedule that morning. So the group I was with are all pickleball players. They were like, let's go play in the tournament. I'm like, okay, fine. So we played in the tournament, and I played with my wife, Jill. And, we played 4 games and ended up winning the tournament. But the point of the story isn't that. The point of the story is that a lot of the times when we were playing, Jill and I were advanced players. So we weren't doing anything crazy. We weren't doing like what we would be doing if we were playing another advanced team. We were just keeping the ball in play. And oftentimes the rally ended with an error by our opponents just because we just put the ball back over the net one more time. And it didn't have to be that many times. It wasn't like, we had to hit the ball 7, 8, 9 times. We'd have to hit the ball maybe 3 times at most over the net. And they would either hit it into the net or hit it out of bounds. It was again and again and again. It was just put it on repeat. So as a pickleball player, if you think about your game, right? And we're going to get into some more detail in the workshop series and give you some more specific instructions. But generally speaking, all right, the first step to winning more is to lose less. Is just reduce the number of errors that you make when you play by implementing specific things. I just gave you a couple of examples. One is I'm going to pay attention to the net. That's great. On other ones, I want to pay attention out of bounds. That's great. You can pay attention to a particular shot that you have difficulty with, right? I'm really going to focus on this shot when I play. Because if you do better with that shot, again, by extension, you will more likely to win the games. But focus on controlling what you can control, which in most cases, it's not making silly errors when we play. One other point I want to make about this, and I alluded to it at the beginning of the podcast, is that winning and losing, the win-loss ratio, right, the win-loss metric is not the end-all, right? In itself, it's not the end-all. And in and of itself, it does not actually tell us anything about how we played that day, okay? It's just a result. It's just incidental to the situation. Now, in fairness, the better you play, right, during a given session, the higher your chances of winning. Doesn't mean you're going to win. It's not a guarantee you're going to win, but you're definitely increase the chances that you're going to win in that particular game or in a particular session that you are playing. So if you want to know more specifics about how to win more, which I've already, I've done a lot of foreshadowing here, reducing errors and things like that. We'll give you some more specifics about that. Join us for our March 14th workshop. Like I said, I'll put a link down below. We're going to definitely show you some more specifics on how to win more. And if I can ask you one favor during this podcast, it is this. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast, if you get benefit from the podcast, please take a little bit of extra effort in the next week or two. Share this podcast with your friends and share the upcoming workshop with your friends. There are a lot of players out there who have their own struggles, right? Just like we do, just like you do. All pickleball players have their journey that they're on and includes ups and downs. And if this podcast can help them navigate that, that's fantastic. And if the workshop can help them maybe see pickleball a little bit differently, right? To see it from a different perspective. Because here's the thing, the workshop is not about the stuff that you see on YouTube, the clickbait stuff that's all over YouTube, right? The CJ likes to refer to it as a YouTube hamster wheel. It's a great way of thinking about it. It's just this constantly feeding you video after video after video. But at the end of the day, the results are marginal, right? Marginally small. They're just nominal improvements, perhaps if something clicks, happens to land right with the algorithm. Whereas when a player comes into a workshop like the one that's coming up, the Win More series, it is very step-by-step, very orderly. It's a lot of information that you don't get from just watching out in YouTube land and trying to figure it out there. So if you have a friend of yours who would benefit from the workshop or from the podcast, take an extra minute this next week or two and share it with your friend or friends. Not just because I asked you to, even though I appreciate you doing that, but because it'll help them out, right? If we always say at the end of the podcast, if you enjoyed the podcast, they probably will too. It's the same thing with the workshop. It's the same thing with learning in a way that is different than the YouTube algorithm way of trying to learn how to play pickleball. All right, I hope you enjoyed this week's special episode. We have a regular episode dropping this Friday. Like I told you, the workshop begins in a couple of weeks on March 14th. We're going to have it's three different workshops, workshop 1, 2, and 3. And then at the end of the workshop, you'll be able to make a decision as to whether you would like to join us inside our March pickleball system class. Our pickleball system class only runs 2 times per year. So if you're ready and this is the time for you to take a serious step in your pickleball development, we will see you inside the pickleball system. So I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you this Friday on Pickleball Therapy.